Hey, welcome to One Life Church. My name is Jimmy, and I'm a part of the team here. And I was thinking about, after all the snow that we had, I was trying to kind of look at the bright side of it. Because I know for a lot of people, it kind of messed up your schedule. Your work schedule is not what it was supposed to be, and those kids have been at home way too long. You need to get them back to school because they're driving you crazy, and all the rest. But I was thinking about it, and I think there's something special about having a snow day and being trapped inside that was actually beneficial. So for whatever reason, one of the things that happens when you are snowed in is you have this sudden urge to bake stuff. At least my wife is like that. So she made these incredible chocolate chip cookies, and I don't think it would have happened if we weren't just stuck inside all day. So I think that alone was worth all the snow that we had. Now, speaking of chocolate chip cookies, seamless transition. Next week, we're actually doing something that is very special. So we have these things called our table after service. And basically what that is, on days like that, after the 11 o'clock service, we all meet in the lobby to have a meal together.
But wait! There's more!
As you've probably been hearing, our student ministry has been raising funds for a missions trip that is coming up. And you guys stepped up in a huge way to the point where we are now fully funded, which is incredible. And because of that, they want to give back in the form of some treats. So on top of the table after service, we're also going to have some desserts brought to you by the student ministry team. So make sure you stick around after 11 o'clock service for that next week. So that's next week, but then the following week, we're doing something that's tied to this thing that we've been calling Step Into the Story. And if this is your first time meeting us, basically what Step Into the Story is, this is a way that you can get involved and get connected in what we're doing here at One Life. And what we've been doing each week is we've been highlighting a different ministry and a different way that you can get involved. And with that, we're going to be doing something that's specifically for people that are brand new here to One Life. We have this thing called Kickstart. And basically what Kickstart is, it is a 2-week class that you go to where you learn about the mission, vision, and values of One Life. But then also you get the chance to get connected with other people that are brand new to One Life. So February 22nd and February 29th, we are going to be having that between our two services. So if you want to sign up for that, we have a QR code that you can scan, or you can go to onelifechurch.org, hit events, and you'll find the Kickstart sign up on there. All right, today we're going to be continuing our series called The Blueprint, but before we do that, let's start the day with the time of worship theme music right now.
Good morning, One Life. It is time we get to worship our God this morning. We get to praise His name. We're so glad that you're here with us. Let's get to our feet. If you're watching from home, just get into a posture of worship. Just prepare our hearts to praise His name. It's His firm foundation, because Christ is our foundation. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would He fail now? Sing it. I still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. through, 'cause my house is built on you. You know, this next song is one a good friend of mine sent me a couple weeks back, and when I heard it, I was like, that is gonna fit perfect with this message, especially right after Firm Foundation. The name of the song is called Abide. Just because part of having Christ as our foundation is to seek him, to search for what God tells us about certain situations in the Bible, and then putting that in our life and abiding by his rules. And that's the name of the song is Abide. So join us as we praise. Jake's gonna lead us. I hope you guys enjoy.
For my waking breath, for my daily bread, I depend on you. I depend on you for the sun to rise, for my sleep at night. I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you. You're the way, the truth, and the light. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. Yeah, the Spirit leads as I'm following. I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you for the victories still in front of me. I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you. You're the way, the truth, and the light. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. Be my strength, my song in the night. Be my home, my treasure, my prize. I am yours forever, you're mine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. When I pass through death, as I enter rest, I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you. For eternal life, to be raised with Christ. I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you.
Readings from the Bible and church history. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands, and he is not served by human hands, as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man he made all the nations that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. As some of our own poets have said, we are his offspring. Acts 17:24-28. Things indifferent are to be adapted to the customs of the place, provided that no harm is done to faith or morals.
Thank you, Olivia.
All right, let's just continue this time of worship together. So let's sing this out today. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship so alive, I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises so loud, so alive. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. Once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. Ooh, and as you speak, 100 to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. When you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I can see your heart and everything you've done. Every part designed, a work of art, cold love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind. God, thank you for being God that knows each individual heart and mind and soul. That you love every person and you love them all in a personal, deep way. God, I pray that you keep us as the focus, that we build our lives around you, that you help us focus to keep you the center of our lives, God. I pray that you'll open our hearts to this message, that it'll bring us closer to you, and that we'll be able to base all of our life and all of the truth on you. Amen.
Amen. Wow. Thank you, guys. You guys can grab a seat. My name is Chris. I am the pastor of spiritual formation, and this month we've kind of been highlighting some stories from people because we had a series back in the fall called Step Into the Story, and so some people stepped into the story, and that was just a way for people to kind of get involved, and we heard from people back then, but I wanted to share a story from Beth Lipko. She's one of our guest service people. I think I won't point her out, but she's up on the screen there. She'll be out there after. She's serving on one of the teams today. But I just asked her because a couple months ago she said, hey, I can do this. And I said, okay, well, what prompted you to do that? So I wanted to kind of share her story. She said, I was attending a Wednesday night worship and meal for Wednesday night classes. And I was just sitting around and I noticed Natalie, that's our, Natalie does everything around here. And so she said she was trying to take care of everything as far as serving the food, organizing, and answering questions. Something led me up to her to see if I could help. I said to her, you need a volunteer list so people know when you need help. I would be willing to volunteer. From the church pew, it looks like everything is handled just fine. Not the case. Much help is needed for all the work this church does. I was the type that just wanted to be by myself and not get to really know anyone. That felt safer to me. Then after watching Steve and Barb Polly, they're also serving today too, on the screen one Sunday and listening to their story, I felt moved. I'd heard these stories so many times in church about needing help, but it didn't faze me. This time it did. I signed up for guest services that day, and I absolutely love it. I've been on the Polly's team for 4 months now, and I've been involved in several events and met so many great people. It has made me feel more connected to the people in our church. And if you're listening to this and sitting on the fence right now, my advice is to make a move and jump into something. If nothing else, try a Wednesday night class to meet some people and go from there. We want you and we need you. So actually, you'll hear a little more of Beth's story from Pastor Brett today, but I want to share that because a lot of times we hear these stories and we're like, oh, okay, that's not me, or other people can do those things in the church. And so it's not just about, oh, we need some help, but it's about, okay, how do I get connected? Because when we come into this place, sometimes it's easy to come in a little bit late and leave a little bit early and not get to know anybody, and you like done the church thing. But it's about building a community, because that's what the Bible constantly points us to, is building a community of believers that help one another in life and then help other people know Jesus as well. And so one of the ways we do that around here on a Sunday morning is real easy. Pastor Brett loves it. We get to know each other by what we call a quick question. You just find out somebody's name, and the goal is that next week you'll remember their name and you can talk to them again the next week and kind of form a connection there. And so this week's question, because it is Super Bowl Sunday, which everybody's really excited about it, but it's Super Bowl Sunday, so I thought, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl? Or what will you be doing instead of watching it? Because some people don't care. I care about football one day of the year, and that's today. So that's the only time I watch football. But all right, so everybody stand up. You're gonna find one person, find out their name, and then who are you rooting for, or what will you be doing instead if you're not planning on watching it? 1 minute on the clock, go.
Hey, One Life Church family. I want to take just a few minutes to talk about generosity, but I want to start with something very real from my own life. Over the last 5 to 6 weeks, our household has experienced 2 different car-involved accidents. Now, let me tell you right up front, everyone is okay. And let me tell you one other thing. No one ever wakes up in the morning thinking, today feels like a good day for an accident. They're the kind of moments that actually make your heart sink a little bit, and the oh no's and the oopses that you never planned for, but suddenly you're right in the middle of them. What those moments reminded me of this week is the importance of being prepared. Not just financially, but spiritually and communally. Being ready for the things we don't see coming. And that's where I'm so grateful for One Life Church. Because when you give here at One Life, you give faithfully and generously. You're helping One Life not only celebrate the highs, but also be prepared for the unexpected. The moments that don't make highlight reels, the needs that arise in the background, the situations that require some wisdom, some discernment, resources, and a little bit of readiness. Your generosity allows ministry to move forward confidently, knowing that we can respond when life happens. And I also want to pause and celebrate something huge. Because of your above and beyond generosity, our student mission trip is fully funded. That means students are going, lives will be impacted, and the gospel will be shared, all because people chose to give sacrificially. And that's pretty incredible. And that's worth celebrating. So, whether you're someone who gives regularly, someone who gives occasionally, or someone who's still prayerfully considering what generosity looks like for you, we just want you to know this. Your giving truly matters. It helps us prepare, it helps us respond, and it helps us to trust God with both the moments we plan for and the ones we don't. And if you'd like to join us in generosity, there are 3 easy ways to do it. There are the buckets or baskets being passed around within the room now, or you can go on the Church Center app or our website, onelifechurch.org, and hit the Give button. Thank you for being a generous church. Thank you for investing in life change, and thank you for helping One Life be ready for whatever comes next. Now let's hear from our lead pastor, Brett Nicholson.
Welcome, everybody. So I need to start with a quick, very important history lesson, okay? So the date is February 3rd, 2008. And the context is that there is a dark cloud of despair and frustration over the entire state of Indiana. It's just present there, you can feel it in the air. It's just kind of one of those things. Now, the reason is because this is the era of Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts and Tom Brady and the New York Patriots, okay? New York Patriots. See, I've already got it wrong. The New England Patriots, we didn't care. That was part of the story. And they're in competition with one another. That is the rivalry. And the Patriots are kind of always in the way of the Colts. And that's just, we feel that and we hate that. We love the Colts and we absolutely loathe the Patriots. Okay, you don't understand how much the loathing, how deep it goes. They actually passed legislation in Indiana. You had to hate the Patriots to even live here, okay? That's how bad it was. So that's what we're all feeling. Well, the Patriots, that year, they go undefeated during the regular season, and they're going into the Super. They had to beat the Colts to get to the Super Bowl. They're going into the Super Bowl undefeated. This hasn't happened since 1972. They're in danger of becoming legends. They're in danger of having the perfect season, and everybody is just in despair. We all hate this idea. And they're facing the New York Giants. No one cares about the New York Giants. We're not expecting anything out of the New York Giants, except they're the vicarious team. They have to be there. So we have to root for them, right? Plus, Peyton Manning's brother, Eli Manning, he is the quarterback, all right? So, hey, all right, we got a guy. So it comes down, and of course, the New York Giants are behind, but they're only 4 points behind. There's less than 2 minutes to go, and they're on their own 40-yard line. They got 5 yards to gain to get a first down. It's third down. Game's over if this play doesn't go well, okay? So the whole thing is over, and we're all just kind of breathless sitting there. Now, we were going to show this play, and we are going to at the other services, because we broadcast this service. We will not, because the NFL will have us all arrested, okay? Well, that will happen. Apparently, you've seen those little warnings they give. So I'm just going to tell you about it, all right? So that's the down. Eli Manning gets the ball, okay? He goes into the backfield, and he is swarmed by Patriots defenders. I mean, they've grabbed his shirt and everything. He's gonna be sacked. It's gonna be awful, and the whole state is never gonna recover from this. He breaks free. He goes further in the backfield. He heaves the ball midfield. A guy named David Tyree grabs the ball miraculously. He's surrounded by Patriots defenders, just barely grabs it with his fingers, holds it to his helmet, and then goes to the ground. First down. They go on to score. They go on to win the Super Bowl, and the Patriots lose in most glorious fashion, okay? Now, yeah, you know you felt that back then. You did. Now, this is one of my favorite sports moments ever, because I was with our small group that we were in at the time, and there's like 20 of us there, and 2 Patriots fans that we smuggled in from Kentucky. And when that catch happened, it's one of my favorite moments of all time. The whole room, just spontaneously, everybody was sitting there. We all leaped to our feet. We're hugging, we're crying, we're writing cards to relatives about this thing. We're throwing confetti, we're marching in the streets. It was just this beautiful moment, right? And because we knew our state was gonna survive. Now, I want you to hold on to that thought, okay? Keep that thought in mind. Second thing, in honor of the Winter Olympics, I want you to see what is considered to be, by everybody who knows anything about the following sport, the greatest shot in the history of this sport, all right? Greatest shot. I found a YouTube video that we don't mind showing, because I don't think these people are gonna sue us. All right, they're from Canada, they're fine. All right, go ahead.
The most difficult attempt, trying to come in off a stone on the outside, trying to get the roll to the stone at the button. They're working on it frantically. There's the contact, there's the roll, she's made it!
What a shot for the win!
That is the best shot I've ever seen to win a game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Did you catch that? That was unbelievable. Those people were really excited about something. Now, for the 2.5 people in this place that actually understand that sport, you're excited. Actually, it turns out that Jason, our West Side campus pastor, we were going through this message, and he is into that sport. He was like, yeah, you don't understand. This and that. But most of us are like watching people be super excited about something we have no clue what's going on. Like, it looks good, and I'm glad they're excited. I'm happy for them, okay? Now, why am I showing you these things? I want you to keep both these things in mind, because they are very important, and they are very important to Bible stuff, and it's this. Typically, Not always, but typically. The deeper the understanding, the greater the appreciation. The deeper the understanding, the greater the appreciation. Because we knew the backstory, because we felt the culture at the time of that New York Giants catch, we leapt to our feet. The people that understood what you just saw and are into that and knew the culture and knew the backstory when that shot happened. It's called the greatest shot in the history of that sport, and people were just going nuts. And the guy's saying unbelievable. But if you don't understand it, you don't really appreciate that. And that will become more relevant as we travel. Because here's one of the many reasons I believe the Christian worldview is the truth about life. Is that it reveals that the God of the universe, who made every last atom in this universe, is in his nature relational. He is love, he is relational, and therefore he's a communicator. He communicates and interacts, and he reveals himself. He reveals himself through what he made, but more importantly, he has revealed himself in one book that's actually a library of 66 different books, written over 4,000 years by 40 different authors in 3 different languages. And then not only that, it leads up to this person named Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who reveals him to others. Listen, we always need to remind ourselves what Hebrews chapter 1 says about Jesus and his relationship to everything that's written in the Bible. Listen to this. It says, in the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets and at many times and in various ways. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things and through whom he made the universe. So God speaks. He speaks through the word, and then he speaks through the person of Christ. That's who Christ is. He's God walking around as a human being, revealing God to us, right? He's a communicator. But here's what's very important to understand, is that God speaks to all people. He speaks to all of us. He wants to speak to everyone through speaking to specific people. God speaks to all people through speaking to specific people. You may have heard it put this way. The Bible is for all of us, but it's not to all of us. There was an actual history behind it. There was a culture. Jesus was a first century rabbi. We're not in the first century. He spoke to a particular group of people who had a particular understanding of particular things, specific outlooks on things, a specific culture. Different groups believed different things that they all know, in the same way that those who know curling, they know the rules of sports, or we know about football, that we have this automatic assumption that goes into it, that the more you understand that stuff for those people, the deeper your appreciation goes for what Jesus said and who he is and what it's about. Now, as we go through the story today, we're going to pick up on a very familiar story, but I want to demonstrate this. I'm going to demonstrate it for 2 very important reasons. Number one, this kind of a corporate application that will happen, but also a very personal one too, as well. And we're gonna go to Luke 15, and here's the setup. Now, all of the tax collectors and sinners were coming near him, speaking of Jesus, to listen to him. They were coming near him to listen to him. Both the Pharisees and the scribes began to grumble, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. So you see the problem. This is famously known about Jesus, but pay careful attention. Because the sinners meant not just people who live lifestyles that people had disapproved of, but sinners was a category of people that had been shoved out of this very religious community, this covenant community of the Jewish people. What they thought of back then, that was just someone who didn't get to participate. They didn't get to sit at the tables. They didn't get to be a part of things because of the lifestyle choices that they made. But not only that, tax collectors was a whole nother category. They were like 3 times sinners all at once. Number one, they were traitors to the Romans. They collaborated with them. Number 2, they did it because of greed. They wanted money. And number 3, everybody knew they were cheats. So everybody hates these people, and they're in that category. They're shoved to the outside. But not only are they getting near to Jesus, they want to listen to him. They're trying to listen to it. And the question becomes why? And the religious people are standing on the outside going, why are you doing that? Why are you welcoming them and even eats with them? Jesus tells 3 stories, and he tells what is arguably his most famous story of all. Now, I always tell you, when you hear something familiar, try to act like you've never heard it before and pay attention to the details, because the details are gonna be very important. Now, I'm gonna get to read part of the story, because we don't have time to get into all the details, but the details are very important to our purposes today. Listen to this. And he said to them, a man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of my estate that falls to me. So he divided his wealth between them. And not many days later, the younger son gathered everything together and went on a journey into a distant country. And there he squandered his estate with loose living. Now, when he had spent everything, a severe famine occurred in that country and he began to be impoverished. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country. And he sent him into the fields to feed swine. And he would have gladly filled his stomach with the pods that the swine were eating, and no one was giving anything to him. But when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired men have more than enough bread, and I'm dying here with hunger? I will get up and I will go to my father, and I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in your sight. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired men. So he got up and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion for him. And he ran, and he embraced him, and he kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly, bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fattened calf, kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead, and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found, and they began to celebrate. Now, just one line from the second part. Now, his older son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. That's interesting detail by itself. You know, when they celebrated, they danced. I'll just say that in a church environment and let you just think about that for a second. But, okay, so I'm not going to do the second half, and some would argue that it's the most important half. But I want you to notice details of here. Now, first of all, very, very famous story, arguably Jesus' most famous story, universally applicable. Universally, it rings. When I was teaching college students in Afghanistan, and I wanted to tell them my story, so I told them that story, and they related to it, and they connected with it, and it rang true, right? Right here, and it rings here, true now. I get emotional every time I think about it, every time I read it. But we hear it without the kind of details that original audience heard it. And I'm gonna go through a few of these. This isn't all of them, but the details in there for the hearers at that time take things deeper, and they take things to a layer that show things about Jesus and how he communicated, and show things about God's relationship with us, our culture, and everything else that are very, very important. Let me give you some examples of that. First of all, to the hearers of that time, when this kid said, Father, give me a part of my estate, I'm ready to go. It was the equivalent of saying, Father, I wish you were dead, and I'm ready to go now. That's how people would have received it. One commentator said this is not teenage rebellion. It is socially violent dishonor to the father and family, and it's betrayal to the whole system, to the father, everybody. This is socially violent behavior. And here's what the audience would have expected. Here's exactly what should have happened. The father should have rebuked him, he does not. He should have punished him, he does not. He should have disowned him, he does not. And this alone, all by itself, would have unsettled everybody that was hearing him. Like, what the heck? Who is this father? Here's what they would expect him to do. Publicly shame him and humiliate him. Instead, they see this generous person. Okay. Then he goes off to a distant country. And in their minds, knowing the rules, distant country didn't mean, faraway place. It meant leaving Israel, leaving the family, leaving their land, leaving the religion, leaving the covenant, leaving everything that mattered, everything that was an identity. It was exile. He left the land, family, ritual stuff, all the things religious, everything else. He ends up feeding pigs. This is like maximum impurity for someone who was a Jewish person. I heard one say that, and he hired himself out to feed pigs. First of all, it's a Gentile, non-Jewish job, and the lowest of those jobs. And we think it's kind of a gross job. You always know when you've driven past a pig farm. You ever notice that? You're like, okay, yeah, there's a pig farm nearby, right? We think it's gross. They thought it was actually grotesque in the deepest sense of the word, visceral reaction, emotional reaction. The pigs matter because they were unclean. They were associated with Gentiles. They were associated with ritual defilement, every kind of defilement religiously you can get. You're outside of the covenant. You're outside of everything that matters. Again, loss of identity. And not only that, he wants to eat what the pigs are eating. So it's actually showing him lower than that. I love what another commentator said. She said, quote, Jesus has taken this character to the lowest conceivable place a Jewish listener could imagine. The lowest place for the people, again. We know it's rough. We know, and a lot of us can relate to it because, man, wild living kind of wrecked his life. But the original here, it was the lowest you could be. It meant more than just you messed up a little bit, crashed your life, as you've forsaken everything. And he does the thing and he comes home. And this is my favorite image of all. It says the father saw him from a long way off and he ran. And that's a cool picture for anybody. You can hear the music in the movie. It's coming, and he's running. There's going to be this big hug at the end. You can see that in your mind. But for the original audience, that was scandalous yet again because this father, this weird father, is not supposed to run. In that culture, if the older you were an elder in that world, you were known by your walk. You were known for your dignity and what your walk meant. It was about age and wisdom and depth and all these things. You walked on purpose. And if you had ran, you would have had to gather up your robe and you were showing skin under there and people were freaking out about it and running makes you look dumb. And it goes the exact opposite of everything they think. And then when he gets to him, he hugs him, he kisses him, he doesn't let him finish his speech. And then he says, put a robe on him. What that symbolized for them was a restoration of his status as a son. I'm no longer worthy to be called. He automatically puts the robe on him. The ring was about the family business. It wasn't just a nice ring. It was about the family business. It was authority. It was him restoring his identity. And he says, put sandals on his feet. All the slaves wouldn't have had shoes on. Putting shoes on him. Everything was about the restoration to right where he was before. Now I'm gonna stop there. That's plenty for now. But this says a few things, okay? Now, one, on a practical level, here's what we're talking about. So we're in this series called Blueprint, and we're saying that Jesus had at least 5, he had lots of characteristics. We're focusing on 5. And the 5 that I would argue are the ones that you want to proactively place in your life, that Jesus had in his life, that others I've seen that live godly lives, I've seen through the years, and I've seen stick and are need to be there if you really want to be everything Jesus called you to be. Number 1, we said, was walking. Having a living, breathing, walking, talking relationship with God where he's the guidance system, where God is your everything, where God is the one that's giving you direction and everything else. The second one was what we said was going, and that is Jesus knew his mission, he knew who he was, he knew his identity, he knew what got him up in the morning. He knew what he was living for, and he could articulate it. You and I need that. The third one, this is one we're talking about, we started last week, was understanding. And it was understanding of the culture in which he lived, the people, their language, that he had a nuanced understanding of the people that he was talking to. And notice that it says that the sinners and the tax collectors, they drew near to him and they ate with him and he was welcomed by them, but they listened to him. They wanted to listen to him. Why? Because I think it was very, very evident. Every detail in the story, we could have gone on and on and on. I've seen big books go on and on and on, but the level of detail that the original audience would have been freaking out. They would have been walking around after they left that story talking about it like you talk about a good movie or a great movie. What about this when that happened? I don't know. And also what's cool about what Jesus does is at the end of the story, it has a takeaway, but it kind of doesn't. He leaves it kind of hanging there. We'll come back to that. So he had a nuanced understanding. Now, again, God he communicates, but he communicates to specific people at one time to communicate to all of us. So the deeper understanding you have of the people that he was talking to, the deeper appreciation for what you're saying, what he's saying to you. Now here's the corporate application this has, okay? So just as a church, our mission is to equip a Christ-centered community that helps people far from God trust and follow Jesus. That's what we want to be. We want to be because I was far from God at one time in my life, maybe you were, and we want to reach people like that. And God's given us the grace to do that and do it effectively. But one of the main ways we can do that, and I'll say it this way, is to help people far from God translate. Start translating. What we don't recognize sometimes, and I saw this with friends that I had no church background at all. Sometimes when they come into church environments, they listen to church people talk, it looks like curling to most of us. The church people are all, just going crazy over something, and they're like, well, those people are excited about something. It's kind of interesting, whatever it is. But Jesus obviously went to the trouble to connect the ideas of all the things that he was calling people to the people that he was talking to. They drew near to him to listen to him, and he was extremely effective at that. Just understanding who we are in culture and how people receive this stuff. How do they interpret life and all the rest? Now, I say this first of all because we said a little bit earlier, coming up on the 22nd, there's a class called Kickstart. And that's where, and if you've never been to Kickstart, you've been at One Life, it kind of tells you our mission, our values, things of that nature. But one of our values is this, that we'll talk about in that class. We believe in translating our faith to our culture because the message of Jesus should be accessible to everyone. Saying things that relate to and connect people is a very, very important idea, okay? Scholar J.I. Packer put it this way: our job is to present Christian ideas in modern terms, not modern ideas in Christian terms. Confusion here is fatal. So if you've got a friend in your life, a family member, we all have these people that reject and everything else, one critical thing is to know how they're thinking and why they're thinking it, and how can I connect Christian ideas over here. We'll talk about that in just a minute, of an actual how and a practical. But let me give you one, because I want you to see something. We've talked about YouTube. People know we have a YouTube channel. But a couple of years ago, we decided not to just broadcast our services on YouTube, but to talk to people on YouTube the way YouTube talks, if that makes sense. In other words, there's a format that's very, very common on YouTube. You may not be aware of it. I know that you go to find out, how to fix your refrigerator or whatever else. We all go to YouTube for something, but you can go to YouTube for lots of things. I want to give you a sample of a video that we did that demonstrates this whole translate to the culture thing, okay? This is just a beginning of a video of ours that we did last week. It's already got over 100,000 people watching this thing, okay? And it's just kind of this format. I want you to see a sample of it for just 1 minute. Go.
There are 3,000 gods if you add them all up from all the religions. Who's to say your one's the real one?
If this happened, it's game over.
It's ridiculous, people say, to base any history on it. Is it indisputable to you that Jesus Christ existed?
This is a fantastic interview by Piers Morgan, and he packs in some of the most relevant questions that people have about Christianity. I love it when people know how to give concise, informed answers that stay on subject to questions like this. Now, Wes Huff does all three of those things. Now, there's one answer in particular he gives to a very common question and objection that I've heard in culture many times that I didn't really hear before. And it's perfect, and we can learn a lot. Before I let you see that, I want to introduce you to my friend Braxton Hunter, who is part of One Life Network, and he is an apologist much like Wes Huff and has encountered these kinds of questions before. So we need kind of a running insight into what it looks like to sit in Wes Huff's seat.
All right. Well, thanks, Brett. I'm certainly glad to try.
Okay. And Braxton says a lot more than that in the regular video. Why does this matter? Why is it important? Because number one, we're trying to reach people far from God, and the marketplace of ideas is going on right now. I saw a social commentator just recently said, the internet has made everything worse, but it's made it better at the same time. Did you know that there's a revival, especially among young men, about things spiritual, things religious, and Christianity and the whole package going on right now as we speak? Because conversations like, is this thing really true, are happening not just on Christian shows, they're happening on Piers Morgan News, they're happening on Joe Rogan. Conversations are happening, and you'll see our comments area flood with all kinds of people that are pushing back or conversing about that. That's the point of that. And I want to give you a heads up of that, because as we go into Easter, we want to do a local version of that. We're working on how can we do that, bring people into the conversation and connect with them the way we know Jesus would. So that's the first point of application. Let me give you the second. This is the more personal one. Remember, God's love, deeply understood, is more radical than we imagine. Here's what I mean by that. I love the story of the prodigal son, and the reason I love it is because I related so much to that kid. I felt like I was that guy. And it gave me tons of emotional comfort through the years. I would get bogged down and I would remember it. But now that I'm a preacher man and I study these things in depth and I look at cultural background stuff and I study in depth and I understand their culture back then, and I listen to some of the pure, raw, scandalous nature of how the original audience would have interpreted those characters going on in that story, I'll just put it to you this way, it messed with my mind. It was almost too much, because it raised all kinds of questions that Jesus doesn't even answer. He just leaves it all hanging there. We all know that there's sinners in our culture that we put in different categories and we disapprove of and we disagree with, and we're polarized inside of our culture and everything else. And Jesus, I want you to note that he doesn't stand there with the sinners and go, hey guys, I just want to tell you one thing. You're okay, you're okay, you're okay, and you're okay. End of story. He doesn't say that. He's after restoration. He's after welcoming back into the covenant. But how he gives it and what that story told turned their entire culture completely on its head, completely. It was that radical. It was that welcoming to the point I didn't even understand. It struck something deep inside of me that it was just like, wow, is it really that amazing? Is it really that good? And it sounds very cliche. Is your grace really that far? Does it go to that extent? Does it? And the answer is yes, in some mystifying way. Because that's what it was. It still does. It mystifies me. Maybe it doesn't mystify you, but it does me. Then why does that matter? For a few reasons. Number one, some of you have been walking in this thing for a while. And if you have, Jesus used you in some pretty profound ways probably, but I'll bet you've tripped up in some pretty significant ways too. And you've said some things you deeply regret, and you've done some things that you wish you could get back. You've sinned, you've stumbled. The Bible says we all stumble in many ways. And if you've experienced his forgiveness and a baptism 30 years ago, sometimes you can lose sight of just how good it was. But listen, the Father's radical love for you, you can go back to that place and think about the radical love that he placed on you. Let me give you a prayer that I've given you before, but I encourage you to pray every day if you're able. It's worded this way: I pray, Paul's praying, that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of the fullness of God. I pray that prayer often, and I think one of the ways that he's helping me to do that again is studying even deeper into the story of the prodigal son, because this time it was like, what the heck? I've heard different commentators, and now I'm hearing even more, and it's that radical. It really is. So be free. If you've come home, know that you were welcomed on ways that were scandalous and revolutionary in its day and even now. That's the first thing. The second thing would be imagining that for others, and that's that person that you don't like and you don't agree with at all. Imagine that. Imagine that person that dismisses nearly everything you believe. That person in culture, that popular person, whatever. See them coming over that hill. Not Jesus saying, oh, everything's okay, but him coming over that hill and the Father running, losing all of his dignity and showering with kisses. See that picture of that person in your life that you know would just soon spit on most of the stuff that you believe in. See that picture. It's hard. But I would encourage us to, because I think one of the reasons that was not just his communication style and his words and his language. Jesus was telling this story and the other stories that he told to show his core heart and his view of that thing. It was the exact opposite of how they thought. And I think sinners and tax collectors could feel that. They could see it. They could see themselves having a father run to them. But here's how you do that. How do you do that? I think it starts with understanding. I've got people in our culture I don't agree with like at all. And I know they don't like this stuff. And I know they don't like evangelical Christianity. They don't like Bible. They don't like any of this stuff. I think Jesus somehow was able to understand them. And here's what I mean by that. So earlier, Chris got up and he shared a story from Beth, and she had signed up to work in guest services, and it's awesome, and I'm hoping that people will join guest services, be a part of the ministry here. But I had him save the other part of her story because it was a little heavy to share at that time. But I want to share it now. These are her words. So I think I've always believed in God, but I didn't experience true meaning until I was at a devastating point in my life and was seeking a place I could find answers to and relief from all the pain. You see, my beautiful daughter, Jennifer, had taken her own life, and I was the one to find her. It was a rock bottom I can't explain, and I still can't. Nothing mattered anymore. I played the game and gave family and friends what they expected of me, to move on, to show up for holidays and events. I felt as if I was 6 feet in the ground and the world was moving on around me. I was a prisoner in my own mind and body and could not escape the devastating pain. I wanted to die. She goes on to talk about somebody invited her to church. First day she showed up, the parking lot was completely empty because we were all at Garvin Park. And she thought, maybe that's the reason I shouldn't be here. But over time, her life was changed. What's the point? Because sometimes, not always, people that are walking in that maybe I disapprove of where they are in life or how they view Christianity or whatever else, sometimes, and maybe a lot of times, there's something going on behind the eyes that you don't see and you don't understand. And so you know how to fix that just in normal life? Just ask. Hey man, I know we don't agree. And I know you're kind of pushed back on the church thing. Would you help me to understand maybe where that came from? Was it one thing that happened in your life back there somewhere? Or was it a series of things? Could you just explain it? And again, they might make you even more mad, whatever. But that's what we mean by understanding. It's not just language. It's that Jesus was able to exude somehow a compassion that would send a father running, throwing away all his dignity, to give him identity, to restore his place, to make him a son, and do the whole list like he's done for you and I. So with that, I want us to go into attitude of prayer, to posture of prayer, just wherever you are, bow your heads and close your eyes, and I want to do a couple things. First of all, some of you are in this room right now, and maybe you're more like that son. You're away, and you've been away, and you know you're away. And I just want to encourage you that that's the picture that Jesus created of you coming home. And he's not going to come to you and say you're okay where you're away. He's going to say come home, but when you come home, he's going to see you from a distance and welcome you and restore his identity to you and restore you to the table, restore you in every sense of the word. And you can do that today. You can have that now. You could say, Lord Jesus, I want to just say that in your own heart. If that's you, to say, Lord Jesus, I want to come home. I want to be forgiven and freed and restored. But also for the rest of us, we live in a polarized society. We live where there's a lot of internet has hurt a lot of things. But Lord, I pray that you will give us the grace to just think like you did, Lord Jesus. Communicate like you did. Have the attitude and view like you did. And thank you for stories like Beth's. Thank you for stories that we have and we've experienced. And I pray that you'll help us to reach the people that push back for now, but the kind of love that you want us to. Thank you for who you are and what you've done. In Jesus' name, amen.